Paphos was the same as Jupiter layout, except the board was dark blue rather than green. The first thing I noticed that all of the usual level icons have been replaced by a blue rock of some kind of strange honeycomb shape. There was an icon that had the part of the jungle icon shape, but I didn't pay that much thought to it. I checked the other side of the board to see a new monster. Instead of Hedorah, it was Bayonet. But I couldn't have been right. Godzilla versus Bayonet? That didn't come out till 1989, and this game was made in 1988. Perhaps Toho put Bayonet in the game to help build excitement for the movie next year, but changed their minds? I tried to rationalize the game's abnormal abilities any way I could, but this would prove me to the photo. Paphos' map song was just the same as the new song I heard in the game. Like most of the new songs, it was hard to describe. I'll try. It started out with the slow and suspenseful, much slower than any song in the game. But every 12 seconds or so, there will be a loud clashing sound, and the tempo changed. It was like the composer randomly played parts from 5 different songs with the same instruments. I moved Godzilla over to the many blue rock icons, and I placed the jungle icons and started the level. The level resembled that of a blue mountains range with a blood-red planet in the sky, but there was something odd about the mountains. They had a shredded paper look to them. I thought at first that maybe the glitch had affected it, but it looked too far to be international. I quickly noticed something else new about this level. There were no enemies at all, not even obstacles. I should also mention that this was another part to meter that started to become more glitched beyond comparison. But it didn't bother me much. I never kept up with the game points. So, without having to focus on anything, I listened to the music for a while, walking through the level unopposed. The music had a soulful feel to it, like it would have been rather pleasant, but I had heard it in a normal game. The level that went on for 3 screens, with no obstacles around, I finished very quickly. I tried another levels of the same type, to see if any enemies would appear, but there were none. There was little else to be seen into the blue mountains, so I tried to another level type. I started one of the orange levels, and my eyes were assaulted with grotesque background of tumorous orange eyes in the sky was the same as the ground. So I assumed this game was indicating that this level takes place in a cave. The only enemies that were there were Mato Dango's spawn, but as you could see, the little bastards were everywhere. The music certainly didn't help. With the mixture of screeching sounds, loud drum beats, that sounded like a monster's theme in a horror film. After completing it, I tried to avoid playing much more of these levels whenever I could. The map was short, so it was only a few minutes before I was headed out to rematch with Godzilla and Mongua. But this time their sprites were attacked patterns as they were vastly different. I fought Morgaria first. Morgaria's replacement was Flying Machine, and it was a slight resemblance to the Pascadora alien. It was much bit like a fight in Mothra, only it moved with a bit more grace. It attacked by spinning its tentacle-like corkscrew, and it did have an eye beam, except now it fired from the drill. This lanky aberration had replaced Godzilla, and was now the beast of any more challenge. It would run and jump at a fast pace, but constantly swinging its arms around, making it hard to get close. And of course, it tried to pin on me in the corner with much more annoying resolve as ever. I defeated it using a combination of tail whips and heat beam between spamming. I defeated them and I was going to fight the Titanosaurus, but when I started to fight the Titanosaurus, was nowhere to be seen. The game simply went back to the map with the Titanosaurus piece now missing. There was no one left to fight now by Bionet, so I eagerly started the battle. I was quite surprised that Bionet had started the fight from her rose form. She was immobile and was used tentacles to keep me away from her main body, which it took the most damage. As I expected, she turned to her final form after taking enough damage. The sprite looked pretty damn good for 8-bit. The battle technique was the same, except now that Bionet could move, a bit slower than any other monster. Being hit by the tentacles did more damage now, and the Bionet could not and do spit acid, which I managed to avoid by jumping in the screen cap. Not much difficult than to beat the Titanosaurus. It only took 2 rounds, but when the Bionet was gone, the music stopped, and there was now a new icon replacing the base. This icon there wasn't there before when I beat Bionet, but it resembled that of a red tribal mark. And then I had a bad feeling of dread when I saw it. But then since it replaced the base, it must have been the only way to exit Phatos. So I moved Godzilla to the square and started the level. It was a hellish looking place with no sky and flickering fire in the background. The fire looked far more advanced than anything that I've seen on NES. There was music in form of a slow, steady drum sound resembling a heartbeat. All in the text on the top of the screen with the life bar gone, in place was a single bit of text in the middle of the screen that said, "Run." My feeling of dread had intensified. I cautiously walked through the level, but like the Blue Mountains, there were no enemies. I paced around for a good minute, thinking, run? From what? At first time it hit me, I didn't even see it. I then first heard a noise outside my room and turned to see if something fell. When I looked back, Godzilla was dying. I figured that it must have been a glitch, but I wasn't going to play through the game without Godzilla, so I restarted the game and went to the password screen. I have ever mentioned how creepy the password music screen is. If you have played the game, you know what I mean. It doesn't fit at all the mood of the game. It's more like something from a horror game. Maybe they made it so kids wouldn't cheat? I was quite annoyed at this point, all because I thought I was going to have a fight with all the monsters again. But this time that didn't happen. The game started off with me where I was before I faced the red face level, so I tried again, making sure to pay attention to this time. That's when I heard a bellowing sound, and then I saw it, this thing. Do you know what feeling in your body has when you feel like you're in extreme danger? You start to recoil and tense up if adrenaline flows within your veins, and your nerves start to feel very cold. That's the feeling I had when I took this screen cap. I haven't seen all the Godzilla movies, but I'm pretty sure this never was in any of them. It had to be something the creators made up. But what kind of sick person would put this in a children's game? My sheer dumb luck, or perhaps an adrenaline boost, I managed to run fast enough to get away from it. I ran very fast, so much so that if you saw it, you were most certainly going to die. And when I say die, I mean your monsters get killed instantly if the creature touches them. Once I had gone back to the map, I was so afraid and I was extremely tempted to just shut off the game and pretended like this never happened. I couldn't believe what I just seen. It could have been a real, and even if I wanted to continue, I would still have to get Mothra through this chase level. But I stayed as inactive on the screen map for at least a few minutes. My fear was replaced with burning curiosity. What the hell just happened? What was the rest of the game like? I only had beat this level with Mothra, and then it was to the next world. But when I moved Mothra to Redface, the game registered as me beating the level. I was quite relieved and quite prepared for myself for the next world, Trance.